a day. All right.
Do we have anybody in the office still?
William.
Yeah, William is printing out things for.
Do you have a cell number? Can you see if you can grab our names? Because these were the student activity fee.
I can do that. As a general thought, please put the COVID-19 discussion at the top of the agenda because we will have somebody here to answer questions
Oh, good.
concerning it after I make an official announcement directly after, and I'll go grab an invite.
Thank you.
Do you what?
We're, okay. That was so quick. So what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be moving the COVID-19 update to the beginning of our agenda. Because we're gonna have a speaker here to answer questions about it, so if we could do that above everything else, not even down here, but above basically after our introductions. Okay.
Oh,
So that they can get out of here.
Yeah,
William is on his way.
coming.
So we start the meeting on the.
And it only makes sense after you approve the agenda. Because the change of the agenda.
Did you bring the
Yeah, we're gonna have to make a
Actually,
motion to, like, when we're talking about the agenda, I'm gonna make a motion to add that.
Later, do you hand me one of those?
That's what I was thinking.
Little white down my laptop of it.
Yeah, it's on the computer.
I got a laptop.
Okay. Now, you probably should watch.
Everyone.
We don't know if anyone sanitized these tables.
12 March.
Oh my God, look at this.
Yeah.
Sanitize the area in front of you. And your equipment.
Okay.
Well, this,
Want some?
Clean all the surfaces.
where are you sitting, William?
William, just please. Yellow.
Yalla.
I am just sick.
Just make sure everyone.
Everyone has everything. There's no coronavirus here.
Serious.
Okay, we are, being on, we are going, so,
Your phone, your phone.
yeah.
So today's 12 March, Thursday. It's 4:05, and we're starting. We're opening the meeting with the introductions as usual. Name, position, and pronoun. I'll start with myself. Layla. ASLCC Vice President. Pronouns she, her, hers.
Yeah, Amber, she, her, hers, Senator Pro Tem.
Bryn, Senator number 6, she, her, hers.
Hi, Ronald Williams. I'm from City, the Integrity Officer. Hey,
Fidel, center seat number 2. AMS.
Gundy, Senator seat number 7, she, her, hers.
Della, Senator to seat number 5, inclusivity officer, they, them.
Amy, Senator seat number 1, Keegan Hayes.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Ava Everett. I'm the current ASLCCSG student body president, pronoun she, hers.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do. Okay. So the second thing is will be the approval of the agenda.
So I would like to make a motion to move the COVID-19 update to right under the approval of the agenda before approval of minutes.
Come on, guys. I'm the only one who can do this.
So the reason we're doing this is because we have someone in here to speak with us about it, and we were hoping to get that knocked out so that they're able to take off. So that was
So-
my only discussion.
Okay. so we'll start. We have a motion to, put the COVID-19 update up first on top. And then that was seconded by Della. That was seconded by Della, and is there any discussions before we vote? No? Okay, we'll start with Amber. Aye. Della. William.
Aye.
Emmett.
Aye.
Ren. Father.
Aye.
Serenity.
Aye.
12, 5, 6. Okay. Yes, Ava.
As this has been approved to go directly into the COVID-19 update, I would like to make sure that everyone is aware. There are some changes happening on this campus, directly speaking. And here to speak with us about it is Mindy, who will be taking us away on what the college is doing concerning COVID-19. As some of you may be aware, University of Oregon and Oregon State University have made motions to close their campuses and do no finals in person. And for an update from Lane, here's Mindy.
Hi, thank you for letting me come here. I am Mindy. I'm the Associate Vice President for All Student Affairs. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I was asked to come and talk to you for any information or questions that you may have about COVID-19, coronavirus, closures, updates, that sort of business. And if you don't mind, I'd like to give you a short overview. I'm part of the incident command team for this, and there is a whole incident command team that meets several times a day now to think about what could be best for students, for the institution, and for public health. This morning we got together in this room and watched Governor Kate Brown. And there, were any of you able to watch that as well? Yeah. So in the interest of greater public health and in order to sort of head off the infection rate, Governor Brown has made a bunch of announcements and sort of pronouncements. And we have taken cues from that and from the University of Oregon. And the reason that we're doing these things is not just for our students. I know that sounds terrible, but it is for you, but it's also for the people around you, for people who may be in vulnerable populations. We want to do what are called protective measures. Instead of dealing with isolated cases, we're now thinking of protective measures because we know that this is a pandemic. So if you didn't get that news, it's now officially a pandemic. And we want to, and if you do nothing during a pandemic, usually your curve kind of goes up like this, right? We saw this in Wuhan, China, and we saw it in Italy. And if we can take protective measures, we can flatten that curve. It saves more lives, and it also helps the hospitals to be able to serve people and allow that access. And as Ava was gesturing, it also does sort of save the economy in a very big way. And so we've taken some measures that I think are very important to do. And one of them is that we got some information, and that's that all college-sponsored international domestic travel and within Oregon is suspended. Okay, so if you have travel plans through the college at this time, that's not going to happen. And it's just maybe at least for 4 weeks. And this is also this is also a fluid situation, so that can change at any given moment as well. We have also suspended as Kate Brown was saying, all competitions. So all of our intercollegiate sports activities are suspended as well. Not just NWAC, but NCAA. And I don't know if any of you are what is that, basketball fans? NBA suspended as well. Right. And Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson also have been infected with this. I can't believe it. For me, that's it. I have also asked Lyda to sort of self-isolate because Lyda has, she just should not be exposed in any way, shape, or form at this point to any possible vectors. I'm incredibly protective of her health because we really, really need you. Okay, so for winter term, final exams are not going to be held in person. Okay, they will either be canceled or put online or however it is that your professors would like to accomplish this. There's a lot of leeway given here. If you have not heard from your professors, you will soon. If you are worried, go ahead and contact them directly. Okay. We also have, if you have concerns, there was an email sent to students, and in that email is an email address that you can send your particular concerns to. Like, say you got a hold of your professor, and your professor's like, "No, we're meeting." You'd be like, "My professor says we're meeting," and then the person answering that will get back to you with some advice and possibly some help with intervention. So they should be contacting you as soon as possible. The first 3 weeks of spring term will be delivered by remote methods. Okay. So the first 3 weeks will be by remote method. And that just means that it'll be online or through distance learning. They're like students, all of our professors have a full spectrum of capabilities when it comes to online teaching, right? So I heard one professor today say, "I taught online once, it was a tragedy." It did not end well. And then we also have some people who are just, crackerjack, just right on it, and they know and are very good at doing that. So and this is a sort of a fluid situation, and things can change from time to time. There are some classes that absolutely can't meet online. Probably not going to be able to do welding online unless someone comes up with the iWeld map, and then you can make $1 million. Trademark. So things like that, sculpture, dance, they'll probably stagger the classes, and we're going to do what's called social distancing techniques, being perfectly exemplified right here. Please look to your left and to your right and get 3 feet away from your nearest person. Please do that now. Friends, this is the only way we can have gatherings at this point. 3 feet.
That's not enough.
That's it.
Yes, there's more room on that side of the table.
At this point, that is 3 feet.
I suggest some of you back up and then we speak
Yeah,
forward.
someone back up, someone move forward. And you'll see Liz and Tia, they've distanced themselves from one another, right? So, and of course we do, and this should be in effect immediately for any gatherings that you have. And you should insist that other people do this as well, okay? We are also moving online as much as we can for things like counseling. Can now be done through Zoom when you have a counseling appointment. We are working on doing advising without doing it face-to-face. So that will become available depending on your program and the skills of your advisor. We've never been trained in Zoom yet, but we're going to work on it. Can either be done through phone or through Zoom or other means, and sort of as a last resort. Like some programs, people don't even use computers. So that's going to have to be done face-to-face. But we need to protect you all as well as our staff, right? So we're going to stop doing as much face-to-face as we can. This is an essential meeting. It is incredibly important to the running of this college. And so this is not a meeting that would be canceled. Okay, but we do want you to do the social distancing. We'll see in less than 3 feet. Okay. Can I pause there for a moment and ask what questions you have? Ava, can you run this for me?
Yeah, I will
Thank you.
take that. Pavel?
What about?
Where do you want? Lila's the chair. You can take that.
Oh, wait, it's chair. And my apologies.
So what about the math classes?
It's gonna be the same thing online?
Your exam will be online. Or if your math professor says like, you can go to the math center, that could be a way to do it.
I mean about next term.
Oh, next term, yes, that will be online.
How long is this?
For at least the first 3 weeks of the term.
Is there going to be a system in place to provide support for instructors that aren't as familiar with Moodle, that need that extra help in their departments and things like that, so that this functions properly next time?
Yes, Amber, thank you so much for asking. The ATC, which is the Academic Technology Center, is like SHED only for professors and staff. And so they've geared up. They've been doing trainings in Moodle and Zoom for those who do not have it. And they will be providing even more support. So say Ava had never taught online before, and she's like, I don't know what to do. She just emails all her stuff to the ATC. They put it online. Maybe she does stuff through email. But say Stella is just really good at it, things go on as usual. So we want to reach out to people one-on-one. And the faculty union has been incredibly supportive of this. Our faculty want to be able to teach, and they want to be able to offer the best experience for the most people. Thanks for your question.
More questions?
So week 1 of term, are we meeting here or are we doing Zoom?
Oh, for this group? That's going to be a good question, one you should probably address after I'm gone.
I want to get Caleb some point there.
Do we have to do that with this? Doesn't matter. My name's Caleb. I'm the resource director. We had met a couple days ago. So one of the things I do is I oversee the food pantry, and my understanding is the first 3 weeks, no one will have access to the food pantry. Is that correct?
No, I would like us to still have access. So the college itself will be open. All of our regular operations will be as normal. I will be here. Liz will be here. And so all of our centers, the GEC, NCC, they will remain open. Our classes are going online.
So work studies will still be
Work
here.
studies will still be here.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for your question.
I would like to yield time to Liz.
We're still waiting for information about work studies.
The word that I have right now, and again, it's fluid and it's dependent, but the information that I have right now is that work study is a go.
Right now, my work studies are choosing to not be here.
And that's between you and your work studies.
But as we've done before, students, I'll put a note on the door and people will come contact me. And there are others who can open it up for people.
Caleb, if you'd like to speak to me tomorrow, I will be on campus.
Do you have
Right.
hours?
No, but I do have an email. It's DIEUM @NCC.edu.
I have your card still.
Okay, good. And if you see me, just be like, I need 2 minutes of your time. And just like, everything else will go away and we'll just talk.
I'm gonna need more than 2 minutes.
I can guarantee you 2 minutes. But we will work this out. And because the focus is on students and finding solutions to help support them.
So 2 quick point questions. As not all classes have gone into OER status and thus do not necessarily have access to books online, how has the college started to prepare, or has the bookstore started to prepare the access to books that may be necessary for online classes?
The bookstore will still be open. It is a separate entity from us. So Follett has a contract with us, but they are thinking, as far as I know, they're thinking business as usual. Thank you for your question.
Emmett?
Is that question was related to the bookstore? And if I heard very well, that will still be open.
From what we understand.
So I want to ask about if we want to take books from the library,
The library will remain open.
so we can still come and take the book
You can come to campus. You can meet with your professor if they are going to be on campus. You can come to this building. You can come to any of our buildings. Our food vendors will be open. We're moving our classes online. The college is not closed. We have so many students who either don't have access at home for whatever reason to online stuff. I have to have a way. I need to provide a way for them to still access the classes. And like I said, if we have a class that has to meet in person, we'll practice our social distancing, stagger classes, and that sort of business. So yeah, we will still be here. That's a question, yeah. Okay, yeah, we will still be open, just exactly like U of O and LSU.
So I'm pretty sure I got the answer earlier from someone else, but I just wanted to clarify. I heard at the Veterans Center, there were some concerns about the coding of going to online classes, and they were concerned that they weren't going to meet their requirements for their GI Bill and their basic housing allowance. But just to clarify, it's still going to be coded as an in-campus class.
We've received direction from the VA on this, and they will relax that standard. So even if they're online classes, if they remain online, if it's coded as an online, you're still going to be okay for VAH and regular payment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Any more questions?
For the classes that do need to have physical presences, I'm wondering if
Mhm.
there are additional sections of those classes being open to allow for proper social distancing in classes that are eventually full.
Yeah, this is a work in progress, but the tentative answer is yes, probably. Yes, probably. Thanks for your question.
Any more questions? Ms. Williams?
Will the school come out with a list on spring term of what classes is going to be held online for 3 weeks and what class going to be on person?
I'm not sure that there's going to be a list. I think it'll probably be done by program, right? So like if you are an English major, like I was in college, you're good, right? But if you are, so say you're doing a nursing program, that program would probably get a hold of you and tell you.
I think just to clarify what he was asking, I think he's asking when we go to register for classes, how can we tell whether or not it's a full online class or it's just an in-campus class that's going to be the first 3 weeks online? Is there a way to know that? Is it going to be coded a certain way?
I don't think it's going to be coded. I think I understand what the question is. I'm just not sure that I have the greatest answer for it. So how are we going to distinguish between those that have to meet in person and the rest of them?
No. So if this hold gets lifted and we're going to start meeting the 4th week at an in-campus, when we sign up for that class, is it just going to say as an in-campus class?
Oh, all classes that are coded as on campus, and even if you're meeting the first 3 weeks online, if that is lifted, then you'll just come and meet in person.
Yes, but it will be coded as in-campus.
We're not going to uncode them as on campus. Online classes will remain online, but in-person classes will remain in person.
Well, because what I was wondering is because like for me personally, like I mean, just about 4 classes and like let's say one of my class environmental politics, if they be in person, then I probably would like cancel that class. But the thing is that like I want to know like beforehand if they're like a way to look like this class is going to be held online, this class has to be held in person for the first 3 weeks. You know?
So like if you had an art class or a sculpture class and you're wondering if it's going to be coded differently, is that what you're thinking?
I just it's like a result from student to know for the first 3 weeks if they have to be in person or if the class itself is going to be.
I think that the program would tell you that.
I was just going to say, we should probably, if we have concerns about that, maybe we could just email our professors directly that are in charge of each of those classes to find out specifics.
And they may be doing it by program,
Mhm.
right? So they may be having like an admin in a program say, okay, you're in this program. This is
So
what
it
you're
is
doing.
just like a concern.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid concern, actually. I'm sure that's shared by everyone in this room and by me too, actually.
Any more questions?
Um,
I would like to ask you about the labs.
Yes.
Biology and chemistry majors. What do you think?
Well, they're exploring that one right now. There are some virtual labs that we can access and materials that way. I don't think they're ideal. My experience is that, especially for things like, I don't mean to go something else, but like if you have dissections, or you actually need to get like hands-on manipulation of skeletons or anatomy or that sort of business. Some of that has to be done in person, and so you would probably be contacted about that. So maybe the lecture part is that online, and then you have to come in for lab, but they would do social distancing for that. That decision is still in the air. Yeah, thanks for your question.
I want to give my time to.
How is this gonna affect the degree completion for folks that have to that are scheduled to graduate from spring term?
There should not be an effect on degree completion.
Any more questions?
I can tell you that this is a time where we all need compassion. We need compassion for our students. We need compassion for our professors. And we need to get out as much information to as many people as possible. So right now I'm based out of the GEC. If you need me, if you see me in passing, go ahead. It's fine to just say, hey, I need you for a minute. If you need to make an appointment with me, please do that. And if you need me to keep coming to meetings, I can do that. And my final piece of advice to you is, are you meeting any more this term? Any more times this term? Okay.
We have one work session next Tuesday, but we can always.
You may want to consider, I would like you to consider meeting via Zoom. I know.
And I was going to say, we are currently in process of moving our direct operation onto Zoom. There are trainings scheduled, and we will be sending out all that information to you all shortly.
Yes, ma'am.
This is mostly about Senate business. Are we still gonna be doing the finals juice and fuel station?
All non-essential events are canceled on this campus. That includes the Welcome Week and the Finals Fuel Station at this point. And there will likely be a discussion about having Welcome Week during the first week that this is lifted. But that will be in our meetings on Zoom over the next few weeks.
And rather than using language about canceling, we're using language around postponement or just temporary suspension.
Do we have any information on how this is going to then affect campaigning?
I am not being on that committee.
You may want to consider doing a Zoom debate
Well, it's not.
or a Facebook Live.
The debate is another matter. It's the campaigning itself.
We may wish to, while we have the great resource of Mindy here, talk directly towards institutional questions that you may have. And we are always able to have more discussion about how our internal workings will work after this part of the meeting.
So I have a question about the nationals who can only work on campus and they'll like about the money to get their food or pay their rent. What can they do?
I would defer that answer to Tia and Jennifer Falzerano, as they are our experts in international, and they would better be able to advise you.
And I would be more than happy to talk to anyone who have any financial need, see how we can support them. It will depend on your departments and the work and how they keep running. I know for the student workers in our office, I'm going to try to keep them busy via online methods. We're looking for like different ways of engage via, like I mentioned last time, social media and different online games to still engage our students. We're looking into doing Zoom study groups. So in the side of the department, we're trying to, find ways to still engage the students and have the student workers still working, engaging the students. And for other students working in other department, they will have to talk to their supervisor, and I can help to facilitate that conversation if needed. And if there is a big financial need, we want to make sure nobody's going hungry. So like the food pantry will also be, running to make sure students have access to food. And if you know any of the students who might have a big need or big worry, feel free to send it to me. Don't just give them my phone number, please. Give them my mail first. But yeah, I would be not happy to meet with any student.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you. So next we have the approval of minutes from past meetings. Did y'all have the time to review or have any? Yes, Ava?
We may wish to in future agendas remove this from our agenda, as all Senate meetings were or will be live streamed in some form or another, and those records will be available with summaries created by the communications director, and we will look at how we incorporate that onto our drive directly and or onto our outwardly facing sites, etc. moving forward.
Okay.
So I have a question about that with minutes. Will the summaries include how senators vote, and will those summaries be public? Because my understanding is that minutes, before they were videos, the most important part about minutes was to be able to look up to see how your senators vote.
Yes.
So,
I will say in the affirmative of that and ensure that the communications director and staff director is directed in that.
So does anyone have anything to add in or to change from the past meeting? Nope. Next, we have statements from the gallery. William? Do you have statements? So, number 5 will be organizational updates and announcements, OSA. Yes, Ava?
I will say additionally, so the Oregon Students Association has officially made it so that they are doing no travel during this time as recognition for COVID-19 as well. As Gabby's position, who is the one who normally reports directly to us, as Gabby is currently in a traveling position, I do not know yet when we will get our next direct update. However, Gabby will be sending out updates via email to all senators moving forward.
Thank you. Osberg. ASLCC advisor.
Lina, do you have anything for us?
Yes, yeah. Hey, Lida, is there anything you'd like to add to our minutes, etc., or any statements you'd like to make?
No, actually, I'm really happy that Mindy was there to speak to you today. Deontay, I've ordered him to go home because he's been sick for a while, and I don't need him around campus spreading germs, but he can work remotely on the election.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have the LCC organizations and clubs. Any updates? Yes, Anna.
It's not really an update, but I attended the last meeting of the site club, and that was last week, I believe. Monday. It's been a long week. Anyway, but and I was able to learn quite a bit about the club, and I'm looking forward to attending more next year.
Any more updates or news? Yes, David?
So Council Clubs has been in discussion about their club fair. However, I don't know where they're updated at this point on the progress on whether or not that will occur on campus. Likely not, because nothing's happening. And they are not holding a meeting next week out of respect for finals.
Any more LCC organizations or clubs updates or announcements? Nope. Okay, we'll go next. Governance Council reports.
Governor.
Emmett,
Yes,
you have that?
are you waiting for me?
Yes.
Let me make sure that that was the last, yeah, that was the last diversity council meeting that occurred on March 6th. I was part of it, obviously, and they talked about the Indigenous Day celebration that they are trying to put in place. I believe Lane already has one, but they are trying to make sure that it is and trying to make it more official because it was proclaimed by the president and now they're trying to make sure that it is in the policy. I don't know what policy it is, but they're trying to make sure. And they are even bringing it up to the Board of Education and it will be discussed soon. Also, the council is still working on that open access restroom policy, which will allow. The first time they were talking about having at least one bathroom in each building that will be for everyone, no gender, like no gender specified. Now, I think they are trying to increase the number to at least two because facility council said that one wasn't going to be enough for each building, so they try to increase the number to, in my opinion, at least. So that's all I have to say for diversity council.
Executive officer reports.
Okay, this has actually been a very eventful week. As you now know, we were just discussing the COVID-19. There have been multiple meetings with different groups concerning how this would unfold, including there are 4 options that have been laid to faculty as examples of what they will do about finals. And I know that there's a lot of questions and concerns surrounding that. What I will say directly is it is up to each individual instructor how they will deal with finals directly. And in direct examples given by the institution to those faculty members, there were 4 direct examples which I wish to voice here. 1, take-home finals will be delivered and returned electronically. 2, an offer of an online unproctored exam. 3, a make and take home or unproctored exam optional, so your final may be optional in some of your classes. 4, some of your classes may drop their finals and consolidate the scoring dependent upon as if that did not weigh against the grade. These are examples of what may occur. As I just have, there are two of my teachers have already reached out to me to let me know what their finals options are going to be. And so I suggest that you pay close attention and that all students pay close attention to their student emails to know updates as to what is going on. If there are more questions after this meeting, please track me down and I will happily answer up to the amount of information that I know. 2, going off of what Amy said just a moment ago, the college council passed or made a recommendation to approve the restroom access bill, which has been expanded to include 1 non-gendered restroom or all gender inclusive restroom on every single floor of all new construction, increase the amount of those so that all single stall restrooms now become all gender restrooms, and additionally help ensure that all buildings have at least 1 restroom that has a foot wash station and a few other updates in their amenities. This is huge, as this was, I will say directly, one of 3 direct policies that, as your exec, we have been working on since the beginning of the year, really hard on, and it's been going on for quite a while. This direct one is one of the few policies that has passed this campus, as Amy noted, with the Diversity Council and the Facilities Council co-sponsoring it. There are not many policies in this college that have more than 1 council. It is almost unprecedented, and yet, with all the support of all the people involved there, it has now passed. So it's gone to the president for approval, and then they'll work on implementation going forward. And as you can see, the restrooms here are already, since they are single stall restrooms, they are now all gender restrooms. And that implementation will take part across campus moving forward. So past that, we're still doing work on non-gender conforming student protections across this campus and enshrining them as a protected class, which they currently are not in the state of Oregon for our college. And so that will be passing through Diversity Council here really soon. And I do believe that we will look for ratification of that policy in May. And then other than that, the things that we were planning and that I was really excited for, Final Fuel Station is now postponed, in that case indefinitely. We will talk about doing Welcome Week during week 4 if it is lifted so that students are returning to campus.
Wow.
And then in addition, we may couple Welcome Week with self-care kits, etc., in some way or another going forward. And especially as we had some clubs sign up for time to table during this Welcome Week, we're really excited to start seeing our unions and clubs take part in that as well. And other than that, we'll be doing work over the break concerning our pay structure and everything moving forward, and projects that we can do as a student government while not on campus directly, and B, ensuring that all of our students are as safe as we possibly can. That's it for your executive update.
Okay, senator reports. Yes, Evan.
I think we can talk about anything, even about our school life, right? So that was just my colleagues know that.
Yes, Ella.
I've spent this last week trying to fight off meds.
Yes, Wendy.
Just trying to learn how to be a senator and hang in there.
Any more senator reports? Yes, Wanda.
I had no finals before everyone had no finals. So I'm happy to you all.
Yeah, I wish I was.
Any more senator reports? Yes, William?
I have no final answer.
Okay. Stafford?
I have
Yes,
a
Evan.
report. Yes. So I think our advisor is going to talk about it, and we receive an email about the fact that as international students, we are limited to a certain number of classes online. But with the situation that we're dealing with and leading to the point that we'll be taking all our classes online, I'm worried, and I wonder if there's an update about that. And I'm going to give the rest of my time to Tia.
Yes, Tia.
So thank you, Emma. I believe we sent an email last night, in the middle of the night, explaining that even though international students are required to take 12 credit and only one class can be online, we do recognize this is out of your control. And since classes are going to go online for the first 3 weeks, you wouldn't get penalized. Saying that, that doesn't mean drop all your classes and register for all online classes, okay? Please don't do that. You still, the same regulation apply, the classes are coded, the ones that are online, that they were supposed to be online and they would be online for the full term. Still, it's only one of those that you can take, and the rest have to be in classroom, because you will have to go back to the classroom once they were done with the 3 weeks. So if it's extended for the whole term, again, you wouldn't get penalized. Our hope that is that by week 4, we can all resume a normal life, and you will be required to go to class. So I would say just keep the schedule that you had planned with your advisor already, and you will be okay. We will be giving updates, but we have been working very close with CBAS which is the institution who does student visas. And they told us, you know, you wouldn't be penalized. There is already different schools who are doing that. So, you know, they all have international students. So we're keeping close eye. I'm checking with the student. We have the students workers, and we will be sending another email with more information later today as well. Also about insurance information. I know some people were worried about that too. Is my insurance going to cover the coronavirus? Is like any, like if you get the flu or if you get the cold, so we get covered like it will be for any other sickness, including the testing, if you need a testing. So, and we will be sending that all in email, when we get all approval on that. And
Thank you, Tia.
Thank you.
And like I say, anyone is welcome to mail me at any moment. You can tell the students if they have big concern to mail me directly. And we can schedule phone calls too, but I don't want you to give my phone numbers randomly to people because then I get phone calls in the middle of the night, like last night, and it's not fun to be on the phone at midnight. At least not for me. I know you all like it, but I'm here for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. Staff reports? Yes, Caleb?
This week I have been going around to all the buildings, setting up food and clothing donation bins. I've been in communication, and unfortunately, I don't think we'll have to set up by the end of this term, which is my goal. They will be available next term, and I'm letting everyone know that I will do everything I can to have the food pantry being open for the first 3 weeks of school. But as of now, I don't know how that's going to work or what it will look like, but I'm on it.
Thank you. Yes, Wanda?
I think it's my time, Shannon.
Yes, John?
Thank you. Unnecessary, you can just call me directly if you want to during staff reports. As of last week, I was working on internal documents. I worked with the head of the chair of the council of clubs yesterday to make sure that some of the potential wording in the bylaws revision is up to what they would expect. So we've got the green light on that so far. I'm waiting for Union of Unions to start getting kind of a more solid formation about what the ideals and the motivations are behind it. But I'm working on creating bylaws and constitutions for them. And still working on bylaws with governing documents, which will come next.
Thank you. Committee updates?
The governing documents committee, unless I'm told we can't meet tomorrow, are still planning to meet tomorrow from 4:30 to 6:30. It's a small enough committee, we can do proper social distancing within a large room. Just maintaining our distance. We had a very short and lackluster productive week last week because of the extended SAFC meeting. So I really would like to catch up on work that we missed last week, this week before we get on the break.
Next, we have the Senate new business. So we'll start with the stand 2.1 discussion. Yes, we would like to.
Yeah. So I sent everyone a resolution already. And also, as a part of STAN, I want to talk about, back paying international student, tuition as well. But before I get into more details, I think we should just open up for discussion.
Discussion. Yes.
So I think that things like a resolution need a first and second look anyway, so it may make sense for you to take this time to read it on the minutes for everyone, your full resolution, and then we can discuss.
Okay. So I'll start reading it. Associated Students of Lane Community College, date March 10th of 2020. Resolution, students tuition assistance notifying of student mind Resolution 2.0, Standing of Students 2.0, support professional credit reimbursement for international students and out-of-state students at Lane Community College. Topic: encourage the associate student of Lane Community College, student government, Lane Community College school administration, and Board of Education to refine talent grant and credit reimbursement to be consistent with the proportional amount of credit paid for by regardless of student classification, and take corrective action to ensure equity to all students. Other sponsor William Bonsley, Senate Treasury Officer, and Fidel Abrisi, what? El Baptiste, Senator 2. Section 1, whereas more than 300 international students are pursuing their degrees at Lane Community College at any one time. And whereas out-of-state residents, excluding California, Idaho, Nevada, Washington resident, pay 2.3 times, and international student pay about 2.5 times the price of tuition of in-state students. Whereas each student granted a leadership position within the college who is awarded a talent grant is only being awarded a talent grant at the in-state tuition rate in the amount of 12 credit regardless of grade or tuition being paid by a student. And whereas action taken to ensure proportional reimbursement for all talent grant and tuition waiver recipient will be ensure equity for all students, including out-of-state and international students. And whereas many of the community college students support proportional talent grant credit reimbursement. Section 2, therefore, the ASLCC Senate of the Lane Community College resolves. Be it resolved that ASLCC student government formally recognized that the current rate of talent grant to international and out-of-state students is not consistent with the college mission, and recognize that action needed to be taken. And be it resolved that ASLCC student government formally direct ASLCC student government advisor to lead the investigation in this issue and ascertain which rule and regulation preventing an equitable and proportional reimbursement to all students in leadership position, receiving and what action could be done for equitable compensation for all students by April 20th. And be it resolved that ASLCC student government will begin the process of discussion with the international program and the administration to form a memorandum of action moving forward and expect to be done and report back to student government by May 1st.
Discussion.
Yes. So,
Yes.
can we, I would like to know a little bit more about the last part, the student government beginning a process of discussion with the international program and the administration to begin to form a memorandum of action. I don't understand what's about, and I would like to yield my time to whoever is expert.
Oh, yes.
You're the expert, the solution, but,
I mean, yeah.
so I have been, talking to Jennifer Falsarano, the Director of International Program, to see how we can support, all of you and the great work that you all, and value the diversity and the leadership that you all bring to student government. That means that, so we would like to have a student government to kind of create a budget for us that Jennifer and I, we can see where if it's possible to get the funding to, support for part of it. So I talked a little bit more with William today after I talked to Jennifer about, what kind of document we're looking for. And yeah, it would be, looking into that document is also with all these changes, it has an impact, right? Also, it will have an impact in our budget. So I hope I can come up with something by May 1st, but understanding that, with everything that's going on, It might take a little bit of May first, but I think by May first, we can give an update of where we are in the process at least, and have, because right now everything is out of our control. And this is a great time to learn and embrace flexibility and change and find new things from it. But also means it's a time that we need to be more patient than maybe we're used to. So, but what it's saying is that we will actively work on seeing how we can support from the side of international program and the student worker, student government. We will work together to see how we can help and support.
Well, yeah, and then I have that.
Yeah, and just, is Lida here?
Lida is here by phone.
Okay, I just wanna point out that I also emailed it to her, if she wanna read it.
I cannot hear, William.
I just wanna say I emailed it to you, so if you wanna, take a look, then it's there.
Thank you, yes, I received it, and if someone would yield to me, I have some comments.
Yeah, I can use it like that.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so, a couple of things, and I'm gonna echo a little bit of what I think it was Tia just said. Setting dates and deadlines is problematic, but I'm gonna start with your second, be it resolved. You as the student government cannot direct me to do anything. You may certainly request that I look into this and lead an investigation, but you can't direct me to do it, and you could request by a certain date, but again, a lot of things are out of our control, especially in the climate we're in right now.
All right, okay, I emailed that.
That's what I was going to say. That was the first thing that popped out to me, was putting deadlines on things like this may not be reasonable given the current state of everything and with everything so up in the air.
Emmett?
Oh, Lida. Yes, as you're on the phone, I just would like to hear your opinion about it. We requesting that you lead the investigation. Is it something that, how can I put it?
She's able to do.
Not able to do or would like to do or want. I mean, yeah, something like that.
Sorry. Amy, I didn't get the last part of your statement. Sorry.
I was asking if we as the student government direct or request you, we request you to do this investigation. It is something that you would like to take on.
Would I like to? Yes. Do I have the capacity, especially since I have to work from home for the foreseeable future? It's going to be a little difficult. But you could request that I, as you say, lead the investigation. Does not mean that I have to do it myself.
Okay.
So I was just gonna ask William, so if we already have someone from international programs looking into this and willing to look into it, what would be the reason for her being directed or requested to look into it as well? Are there two different goals here?
Yeah, well, our goal is to see all the options. So our goal is to be able to find all the options that is available. And Alida did suggest with my meeting to her for me to add the second thing about how she could, go and lead the investigation. And that's why I added on there. And because the memorandum of action that the state government and international program does is it certainly affects, but I mean, ideally we would like the school to actually address the problem and actually pay national student in a proportionate amount, but we also want to make sure that we can get something accomplished by next term. So our plan that we were thinking that would be better would be to work with international students to create a memorandum of action to see how we going to address that problem.
Okay, so, another thing that jumped out on the first page, that last whereas on the first page, talking about reimbursement. So from my understanding, after speaking with you today, your goal is to reimburse students proportionally from last term, this term, and have us potentially pay for the next term as well. So can you speak on how much money that's gonna be between the three terms for, how many senators is it and one executive? And secondly, can you please explain to me how you would justify spending that large of amount of money for very few students out of our student government?
Yeah, could you list me like your question one more time, like right now?
Yeah, so
Ava?
how much is it gonna cost us between, I guess, just last term and this term to do, the reimbursement is my question. And then how many senators are we reimbursing and executive, and how many credits are we being asked to reimburse for?
And to just justify it.
And just explain, I really am all for helping and finding a way, to maybe pull money from international programs and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of concerned with how much the ask is gonna be out of the percentage of money we actually have left out of student government, like funds requests and things like that, so can you just speak on that?
So the reason that the dollar amount is not in the resolution is because resolution is only to address a long-term solution to this problem. I am planning to talk about the motion today after the resolution discussion. And we're not planning to create a motion to pay international students for next term yet. That's why we are trying to have a lighter lead investigation on the current issue and trying to work with the national program to create a more sustainable solution from years to come about how we can correct this situation and make sure that everyone have equitable compensation moving forward. I could explain more about your two other questions after the resolution.
Ava?
I also wish to say that I understand where this is coming from, and this is, I believe, in the good faith. What I will ask is, William, as the main person who has led this initiative from what I've seen, and Fadl, have you done any research about how the senators used to be paid, what those levels were at, and whether, as much as we are talking about equitability, what those dollar amounts looked like in the previous year versus this current year? And then secondarily, I do have numbers for you, Amber, or rough numbers, what that would look like into our budget currently, if you would so like.
And I would like to add that I also have the current budget and everything, but I would like to kind of talk about the resolution first and then talk about kind of the budget afterward.
So that's great. The only thing is, in the resolution, it directly is talking about ensuring proportional reimbursement. So I understand moving forward, we don't know the progressed, in the future, how much we're going to be spending on the talent grants and things like that in the future, based on our numbers and things like that. But we do have the actual numbers for senators last term and this term. So what is that reimbursement amount going to be, is what I would really like to know before discussing further on the resolution, since that's directly part of it.
Well, the resolution is not included in the budget amount, so the passage of resolution and the passage of a reallocation of budget amount is not the same thing. Could you repeat the question one more time?
Okay, how much is it going to cost to reimburse international students from last term and this term if we vote this resolution? resolution in. So I just want the numbers from
Yes.
what our reimbursable amount is going to be between this term and last term that you're asking.
Okay, if we vote this resolution in, there will be no any money thing resolution. And I feel like Emma could explain this better to me. Resolution is not, the resolution is not a motion or,
Point of information.
Huh?
Point of information.
Yes.
I believe it is asking for how much is it gonna cost. We're not talking about the resolution right now.
well, I believe that when she said, I heard what she said, how much is it gonna cost after we pass the resolution? Is that right?
How much would be the difference? Let me rephrase this. How much would be the difference between what we paid international students last term and this term to make up the difference?
7,136.
So that would be the direct reimbursement amount.
Correction, actually, I forgot to include Ahmad, a senator from last term, including him, it would be $8,028.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Anna.
So I guess after we fix this resolution, it will be asked or it will be requested to our advisor to lead an investigation, most likely without, probably without a deadline. I was wondering how this is going to work out. Like, if LIDA is leading the investigation, is the international program are going to be is going to be involved under LIDA, or both of them are going to lead like different investigation on the same resolution?
Yes, Eva.
The way this is worded, LIDA would be the reporting entity for whatever investigation occurred.
And yeah, they could, the reason there's no specific is because they can do it and how they see fit. But what I'm trying to convey is that for LIDA, it's more like identifying a problem and see how we can fix it. And with the international program working with the government, it's more like finding a solution that we can work on right away, which is like next term. Does that make sense?
Yes, Emma.
And based on that, what's the feasibility of that for our president?
Could you put a finer point on the question?
It's like, I'm wondering, the goal is to make sure that somebody else or another department is providing for the fundings for international student representation in the student government. I was wondering, how is it going to affect, if it is going against any of our rules or bylaws or anything like that, how feasible is that going to be?
Yes, Eva.
So yes, it does go against our current bylaws. However, I mean, bylaws are, as we have had discussion about staff and a few other things, are able to be amended and changed by the Governing Documents Committee and or the Senate directly, or suspended as can go through a vote, and as we did at the very beginning of this year. However, what I will say is, for that funding availability, et cetera, would be entirely up to whichever entity would be able to, and I think that would be dependent upon their budgets and if those funds are available.
Amber? I have a question for Ava, since you have so much information on our budget. Can you just speak on, from your point, if you think that it's feasible for us to pay over $8,000 out of the budget that we have currently for reimbursement? And do you also think that we could justify it for the amount of people that that's going to, just as a student government, just being utilizing the funds properly? I personally have like concerns giving that large of amount to just a couple people who signed. My thing is, like, we all signed this contract knowing what the amount was, going over it, right? So going back and back paying it and for such a large amount, when that was already what was supposed to be happening, just, it seems a little risky to me.
Ava?
I have three parts to this answer. Let me first go directly to the nature of the resolution in front of you, which is largely asking for an investigation on the inequality itself. It in itself, as a resolution, does not state any motion to do payment or not payment, although there is a clause about recognition that this is a thing, which then would empower the Senate, et cetera, to start looking into how to fix that. Part B is the direct ask portion. So if we're talking about a amount coming out of the student government's funding in proportion of $8,028, that will increase our recompense line item to approximately $74,000. And dependent upon the next term as well, if it's full or half, that would be another approximately, I think it's around 6,000, especially if we look at including another senator who is international, as I know some of the candidates who are currently looking at joining the Senate are. Anyways, so the direct ask portion is yes, our budget has enough money to cover that. It changes our entire budget. So in the case where we pay full for all the back pay plus the next term, it will change our recompense line item to around $80,000 going into the pockets of the students who are within student government, and is approximately 43.4% of our total budget lining the pockets of the student government. That said, the counterpart of that is our budget is currently set up to pay approximately 36% to the student government. But the reason that I brought up the historical is I know Amy and Caleb could talk to this. As previous senators, the stipend amount was $200 plus 2 credits. In the case of international students, I do believe that it was 2 full credits that came out additionally from our student government budget to make sure that it covered 2 full credits for international programs. However, in the funding restructure that we did in this last change around, we increased the amount of credits that were available because we believed that it was student representation being paid by the college through use of the talent grant. And then the third part of my answer is I would have grave concern, right? Because I do believe that if you have looked into our bylaws, it is explicitly laid out that the amount of each of the positions and what that is. But that doesn't say anything about this inequality. And I do see and understand the inequality that is being faced. And the resolution, as separate from any direct actions, us investigating ways that we might be able to solve that inequality is not a bad idea in any way that we look at it. And especially given some previous information that was learned in talking to representatives from international programs here lately, that might be something that we can feasibly do. And I will echo your concern just over general previous recompense and that amount.
Caleb?
So my understanding is that this resolution is just asking for the investigation. It's not asking about the money. So I believe that as long as the language from demanding to requesting is changed, then it would be appropriate for this resolution or for this investigation to come out with the result of, well, we can change this for the future, but the reimbursement isn't necessary. So then from that point on, the reimbursement can be accumulated like by the person's status, and there won't be, I'm not sure of the effect it will have over the budget, but it won't have the same effect as the reimbursement. So I will say that this doesn't say $8,000, $8,028, so.
William,
Yes, that's correct. And I actually plan on making a motion, about about the $8,000 today, but it's completely separate from the resolution.
Ava,
I yield my time to Gary.
I think you need to do a funds request. You can't make a motion for money like that. So. Okay, excuse me.
Emma,
Could you explain just what you mean by actions taken to ensure proportional reimbursement?
I'm sorry, what is your question?
So this isn't calling for a direct amount of money, but it is saying that we need to take actions to ensure that proportional reimbursement happen.
Which is the action that we would take is, requesting LIDA to lead the investigation and also to work with the national program to create memorandum of action.
Do you think it would be better worded to ensure investigation on proportional reimbursement instead of just kind of calling for it? Because that's just the way that I read it, is it's kind of calling for the proportional reimbursement to come out of that. Just some wording stuff.
Yeah.
Emmett,
I just wanted to talk about, to give my opinion about what I understood about proportional reimbursement. It's more like, if we are getting, I think it is under a scholarship thing. The talent grant is under a scholarship thing. So if we're getting reimbursed or we are getting a scholarship for 6th grade, it has to be on the amount of what we are paying to the college. So it's not like, I think that's what reimbursement, proportional reimbursement, that's what William meant in the resolution, not on the talent grant, obviously. So I think that's what you're trying to say. And I was wondering if you had any concern about that, or if it was just a wording.
It just sounds like actions taken to ensure that proportional reimbursement for talent grants, and waiver for recipients. So it's sounding like we're asking for action to definitely be taken to ensure that proportional reimbursement happen. But from my understanding that it just needs to be investigation, so maybe just change the language into investigating the assurance of proportional reimbursement or something along those lines. So it kind of sounds like a direct.
Emmett,
I guess my question is, are we going to be the people who are going to take those action, or whoever is leading the investigation for that resolution?
Well, it would be the student government, so whoever would want to be involved can definitely, I will definitely be involved with the national program to see how we can work this into the action of memorandum of action.
Okay. That's fine.
So my suggestion would be to bring this to a work session and come to language that everyone can agree on. There's a couple just typos and stuff, but I think the big danger is having a date in there, because then if that date passes and it's not complete, does it expire and you have to go through this whole process again? And it just sounds like there's a lot of disagreement on the language, so maybe a deeper revision would be recommended.
I was also going to say that as well. That's why I requested it last time when you made the original stand resolution, that we discuss it at work session first instead of in a open meeting for the first time, and you had agreed to do that, and it did not happen this time either. So I would appreciate being able to do a work session on something like this prior, although that does not have to be done.
Definitely, we're not voting on this meeting, so it will definitely go into work session at the next available one.
Any more questions? Yes. Yes.
So a couple of things, if I may. The language, as stated, yes, you need to take the direct down to request. I do have problems with the dates. The way that the document reads at the moment, I am unclear as to whether the dates say needs to be done with my report or you're asking for back compensation at that time. The other thing is when you read the resolution, and I'm just giving you warning, it says, come up with a plan to make equitable and proportional reimbursement. That could go in many different ways. One of the ways could be that we cut the amount of talent grants. I mean, there's just things that are going on here, but if you could take out the demands and change it to request and put in dates, that would be very helpful. The other thing is, I agree, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, maybe it was I think maybe it was Caleb. There is no guarantee that this will be retroactive. You may be setting the stage for future years, but not necessarily for yourselves. That's all.
Thank you. Emmett, you want to say?
I was ready to move on and ask a question about why we received, I believe everyone did, an email about Senate applicants being eligible to be interviewed, in my opinion, but none of them are here.
Are we moving on?
Yeah, that's not pertinent to the discussion at hand.
Okay.
William?
As the resolution, and then I would kind of like to pivot the discussion to more about what the Senate can do now to ensure a corrective action and make sure that our international students get equitable amount of talent grant for this term and last term. Would you like me to continue? Okay.
Yes,
Well, I think that the first step would be for you to correct your resolution and start there. I think that's a really good starting point, is a resolution and an investigation. Reimbursement could happen at any time, so there's no rush on reimbursement, right? So it may make sense to finish the investigation to see if reimbursement is even necessary. So I believe that correcting the resolution to how you would like it to be, speaking more with international programs, and then getting this resolution passed for the investigation to start would probably be the best way to make your goal of potential reimbursable of last term and this term to be something that can happen. But I think going through the right channels and doing this properly would probably be the most efficient way to get that done.
Serenity. I just want to remind everyone that we have 30 minutes left and there's other stuff to get to. Yes, Emma.
Can you repeat your question again, William?
I did not ask any question.
You said something, what do you think about how we can improve the situation?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say like I wanna pre-work the conversation to do, make sure we can have like action. There's like, equitable conversation and to like, correct our action on how we haven't give, national student the equitable amount of compensation last term and this term, and I kind of want to, talk about that. It's not really a question, it's a conversation.
Well, it sounds like nobody has anything else to add to that, so if that's all that we have, I would like to.
I just wanted to speak on that. So, as an international student, I believe that there was like a situation in which we should have done a better job as a student government. I was part of when the budget was trying to be restructured in a way that we don't get all our budget into our own pocket and trying to make sure that it is more towards students and the student body. Um, I wonder if there's, how can I say that? I think we need to talk about it more during the work session.
William,
I mean, I would like to ask kind of like the room. I mean, if there any urgency, like, is there a reason why we have to vote on this? If the motion is proposed, is there a reason why we need to vote on this right now? And would it be a good idea to postpone the motion to next term?
yes,
Could you possibly answer with your thoughts on this? We've heard a lot from the Senate.
What specifically would you like me to answer?
Do you think that it would make sense if we postponed any further motions on this until we are able to look at this in a work session?
Yes. I think it apparent in the last few minutes of discussion, and as Serenity pointed out, our time is shorter in this meeting, and there are a few other agenda items. Tabling this discussion until we have had it in a work session, which will be on Zoom. This next thing, I can add it to the agenda for work session.
Alden,
Since William mentioned that he had the motion already and he wanted to bring it from the beginning of that, I would like, if you want to make the motion right now, you make it. If you don't want to, we move on to the next point of the agenda because we are having a lot of time.
Amber,
So, just to clarify, if you do make a motion today and it does not pass, that motion dies,
Caleb,
right? So,
The Senate has the power to make a motion to table a discussion. So there could be a motion made.
William,
Well, I would say if the motion died, then we can adjust the motion and in the sake of wanting to continue this conversation, I move to allocate $4,460 of the budget of the student government to correct the action of equity gap for international senator and international vice president for this term, transferring fund from the budget item listed as final fuel station for this term, unallocated budget and recommendation, which is, yeah. I make a motion.
Before anyone second that, I will really recommend you.
You can't speak before a second happens or does not happen.
Well, and I want to add that
Motion's been made,
Motion fails.
unless there's a second.
okay, motion dies. Because
Second that.
Bachu,
I was looking.
Please,
Caleb,
Ashley.
So I personally have something I need to discuss on here. And I'm worried about the time, and it is urgent for me to talk about it so I can get some information to further finishing up this process. Secondly, taking money from Finals Fuel Station, I think that that is a bad idea, and I think that no one's been consulted on that, and that's a deep problem. So I highly recommend, with 25 minutes left, that I do be given some time to speak about what I have to speak about.
So first of all, I definitely disagree with it coming from the rainy day food pantry from our students' resources. Secondly, I would really like to discuss this in a work session prior to moving forward and look at our budget and where we can pull these funds from if necessary. And thirdly, we really don't have time to go in depth with the discussion. I think that we need to, before we actually, if we were to vote this in, we don't have any idea what is going to come from us voting this in and what some of the repercussions would be. And I think it would make sense to investigate that further before passing a motion like this.
Father,
I want to make a motion to second that for the meeting next Thursday.
You can't make a motion.
what is that?
You're currently in a motion.
Can he rescind his second?
I'm the
Yes.
chair, right? I can let him know what he's supposed to.
Mhm.
Yeah. ما تقدر تسوي شيء هذا الحين لأنه هو لما قال الكلام هذا أنت كان لازم تقول إيه. فإنك تميت ساكت يعني خسرتنا. Okay. Yes.
So just, can I speak directly?
Yes.
So you could, if you wanted to do it next Thursday, you could just rescind your second from seconding the motion, and then there would not even be a vote happening, or we could just vote now, and you could vote not in favor of it, and we could talk about it next time.
فكر. Can you repeat that for him?
Yeah, so if you don't want to vote on it now, you could just say that you rescind the second of the motion. And we'll. we
What
can do it.
happens if he does that?
Then we don't have to vote, and the motion isn't going to be talked about anymore.
And then if he
We could
doesn't,
talk about it next time.
فهمت؟ يعني إذا قلت الحين إن أنت ما تبي شيء هذا راح تسحب كلامك وبعدين المرة الأسبوع اللي جاي تقدر إنك تتكلم بالموضوع. بس إذا أنت قلت الحين نو أبي أتكلم بالموضوع أبي أسوي الفوت الحين يمكن إيه يمكن لا ما تدري. قول فاضل.
I second that. I resend mine.
Second.
Second.
William.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, I was gonna resign my thing. I would like to talk, but I wanna add one thing. I feel like we are talking about this, and me, Eva, and Amber is not really an international student, and I really want international students to kind of speak up about what they think, and that's why I wanna hear what they have to say, because I don't think I am that qualified to say, and with that, we can move on if no one wants to say anything.
And the next thing on the agenda will be staff policy discussion. Caleb.
Hello. So essentially what I want to do, and there is a pressing amount of time, especially because of the lack of school that we'll be attending for the next 3 weeks, is I would like for this meeting for us to come to a general consensus for how we would like the staff process, the staff protection process to look. So then I could work with Shauna and make a new constitution with this amended staff protection. And that it's something that we all talked about, and so everyone knows what's in there and we generally agree on. So the system I see that would work would be that if a staff were fired, then they're not required to, but they have the availability to come to the Senate and say, whatever, I don't think I should have been fired. I think this was unjust. And the Senate can talk, there can be a work session and they can review the information present, and then they can have a vote on whether this person keeps their job, whether this person is fired, or whether this person has the availability to work till the end of the term and then they're let go, whatever the Senate wants to make a motion to do.
Ava.
In discussion with Amber, a few emails that have been going out, and what we've talked about with this, I'm actually in support of having a process into the Senate that looks at if there is a disagreement about a termination. What I would caution and or hazard and would ask in reality is that this process have an option that is that the staff member is paid in full through the end of the term, even if they are not completing work, as an option. Just because, as we did talk about in the previous meeting, there is concern about making sure that our students are able to complete their student duties in the ways that are best possible, A. But then secondarily, nod to the fact that in some cases, in the case of a termination, there may be issues with team dynamics and things like that that would make a hostile working environment for all involved. Now, even though I would exemplify and wish for good professionalism among all people when we are in working situations, and I think that the way that this discussion has been going has shown me that this group is fantastic at keeping professionalism at the forefront, even in disagreement. I know that that's not the case for all situations, so I would ask that that be an option as well. But I am in full support of there being a appeals process, I suppose we would call it, an appeals process or an employment hearing or something like that, that goes to the Senate. And as was pointed out to me by Amber, and I believe from a suggestion from Shauna, as the Senate is in charge of ratification of the staff member, they would be a good body to go to for an appeals process. And that still creates and allows for the executive to have control of who is appointed to get into those staff positions, which protects the executive power as well.
Thank you. I agree with that.
So,
Ms. Gill.
sorry. So I know that there was some discussion of a new branch of student government that would review situations like this. Is there anyone that is in favor of that and would like to, or is there anyone that has any opposition? I'm not here to argue. I just want to make sure that if I bring a new, proposed constitution and someone sees something in there they don't like, it's not going to be a surprise.
So if all of you guys sent out the email that I got, that I had sent, or got the email that I sent out last Tuesday night about the Senate being involved in ratifications and things like that. With that being said, I think it would make sense if there was an appeal process that we would be the entity for that appeal. Since we're already directly tied into the ratification of them, creating a new body or branch of student government, I think would get very tricky. There'd be more funding being used, things like that, that isn't necessary.
William.
Yeah, I just would like to say that, I think Senate could do a good job of being like, kind of like a jury, or something along those lines of like an appeal.
Ava.
Yeah, so I didn't think we need to create any new benches.
Thank you. Ava.
For purposes of the discussion, I wish to point out and name myself as the main person who was really championing that secondary idea. And I have been effectively convinced and lobbied by members who are part of this discussion that may not be as necessary as I initially thought. And so, as the person who was really championing that secondary concept, I rescind those concerns. But in discussions with our internal document specialist, who hasn't yet been ratified by the Senate and will get ratified in the first meeting of the next term, likely, as we will likely not have time here, I would like to say that they are open to doing the work of the drafting of this sort of appeals process in collaboration with Caleb and other staff members as they see fit, and other Senate members as they wish, so that we can ensure that the staff feel secure in their positions, and especially as students, that we're taking care of students first.
Yes.
You'll have time, Sean.
Yes.
The discussion currently at hand refers to it as a constitutional alteration. The time frame for that is extremely tight. We don't have a current release date for what the ballot's going to be, and it has to be on that ballot, and it has to be approved by the Senate before that ballot is released. So we've got a sliding scale that is extremely narrow right now. We can absolutely work on it in bylaws. We can try to get it in the Constitution. Working on getting it in the Constitution is going to be a much larger challenge.
Thank you.
Both I'm willing to work on, but that's what the time's like.
Any more discussions regarding staff policy?
That's good.
Yes, Amber?
I would like to make a motion to add an item to our agenda, and that would be the discussion of the ratification of Sarah.
Yes.
I second that.
So there's a motion that to add in the ratification of Sarah by Amber, and that was seconded by Fadlan. Discussion?
Yes, to have the discussion of ratification.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Discussion of ratification. Yes, Renee?
I think it'd be unfair since we haven't heard from any of the other applicants.
Yes, Amber.
So first of all, just when it comes to order, there's the maker, there's the second, and then the discussion first comes to the maker of the motion. So just to clarify, the reason I had suggested this is because this is one of our applicants who has already been interviewed. They have been cleared through the system to meet all qualifications. They have been part of this process for a while now, and I think it would make complete sense to have the discussion of whether or not we should ratify this person, to entertain the idea of it at least. So with that being said, that's all the discussion I have.
Any more discussions? Amber?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Fadlan?
Aye.
Ren? Serenity? Abstain. That's 4 ayes. Okay, so vote passes. Even if Dylan and then not, right? Because of
Yes.
this is yes.
There's things.
Okay.
Wait, just under comment. You still have quorum though, so you can still hold votes.
Okay. So 4 ayes. Vote passes. Yes, Ava.
Well, as we're moving into this newly added point, Sarah, would you like to join the discussion? Come on down. What I was going to say is, directly speaking, we did circumvent standard order last meeting when we had an interview with Layla and Sarah. Because at that point in time, Sarah had not qualified to become a Senate member as all signatures were not verified. However, as was sent out to everyone yesterday, I believe, the verification process was completed and Sarah qualifies to become a Senate member, which would then allow the Senate to make said votes. The other candidates that we currently have do not qualify to take a seat at this moment in time. I will make a reminder that, as was the discussion last time, Layla has the signatures required, but is not currently a student who would be able to sit on this and would likely not become one until the next term, at which point their qualifications can be reviewed again. Secondary reminder is just that the Senate has one current open seat.
Before Serenity, I want to ask about the other students who applied but were not. Did they have the 100 signatures or?
So Audrey, who was one that I sent out as well, was unable to make this meeting because they're currently working. They work from 3 until 11 today. And the other candidate who filled out the application still has not provided the amount of signatures required to become a senator.
Okay. Serenity.
I was just gonna say that there is another applicant that we haven't heard from at all.
Mhm.
And it's not fair to them to, pass someone else without hearing them out.
I see your thought process on that. I think it would make sense to hear out the other person, but I don't think that it would be unfair to ratify the one person that has been here, been interviewed, met all the qualifications, and if we did feel it necessary to ratify her, I think that this would be an acceptable time to do so. I don't think it would be unfair, but I echo your concerns with being interested in hearing what this other person has to say and what they may bring to the table for the student government to make the best decision for students.
Paula?
Yes, Emma.
I don't know whether or not it's unfair or not, but I would like to hear from Audrey as well. All this process, all this topic of ratification came up on the table with the idea that we have more than one person looking for signatures out there who would like to be part of the student government. And personally, I would like to give everyone the opportunity to talk about whatever plans or goals they have for the student government before. Did I say anything that I wasn't supposed to? So, yeah, I would like to hear everyone.
Thank you, Emma. Eva.
Something that I will point out as occurred at the beginning of this term. In the previous end of the term, we had a total of 6 seats filled, now 7 seats filled. And at the beginning of the term following, we were down to 2 senators. So that may be a consideration that you take into account as well, because there are outside issues that can occur which may vacate seats within the Senate. And in the case that somebody is not ratified currently, they may be reached out to when a Senate seat is open, as we do not have any rules that dictate the applications dropped in at any point.
So just as a point of clarification, if we do not ratify someone at this Senate meeting, since this is the last Senate meeting of the term, if we were to ratify a senator next term, they would not be compensated at all for their tuition for next term. It would start the following term after they're ratified. Because as per our bylaws, you don't get that reimbursement to a term after you're ratified. Is that the way no?
Let me respond, and Liz can respond to this as well. So if somebody is ratified in this meeting, they will not receive the tuition for this previous term.
No, next. Yeah.
For the next term, that is going to be dependent upon them being a senator who is able to receive that and currently in seat. Does that answer the concern?
Basically, what I was getting at is if we decided to not ratify her today, and for some reason we decided to ratify her a few weeks into next term, would she still be fully compensated for her tuition credits and things like that if she didn't get in right now? So I just want to make sure that if we did postpone this, she wouldn't be missing out on benefits. That's all I'm concerned with. I don't understand why this is so confusing.
So I yield time to Liz, but I believe that the answer to your question is the talent grant, as much as possible, can go in later. It does cause a little bit of headache, and it may be prorated in some form. Would you wish to speak on this, Liz?
You can make my life a lot easier. The first week of the term, if she's ratified now. The talent grants can be applied late. Obviously, at the end of the term, it's not going to be retroactively applied for later term. Through working on another senator's talent grant, we learned that any senators that were ratified starting week 2 of this term did not receive their talent grants. I have discussed this with Lydia this morning and have to do an audit and report it back to her and so we can get that rectified.
Okay. So I'm gonna put myself on stack and I'm gonna take over chairing the meeting here for a moment. With that being said, which was what I was getting at and what I assumed, I think that in order to have the student government run more proficiently, have all the seats filled, us operating at full capacity for ourselves and the student, and given the fact that in any given work environment, the applicant that's there first, that meets the qualification, that is available to be hired, it's not in any ways unfair to hire that person if they're here. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to ratify Sarah into the Senate.
I second that.
So I'm gonna open that up for discussion, starting with
I think if Sarah already came and we already did interview her and she collected the signatures already, and she is here and she's been here also the last meeting from the beginning of the meeting till the end, I don't see why we do not interview her, even though I am also like still interested about hearing what the other application want to say, but since he's not here, he wasn't here in the last meeting, and I just think that if we just gonna
Point of
serve
information.
come first,
She wasn't invited to the last meeting because she hadn't had her signatures, etc.
I think I heard that.
I went to the student government and I found these.
Yes.
No. I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about the other applicant.
Oh, right.
Oh, I see, okay.
I did not explicitly invite the other applicant to the Senate meeting for interview because they had not at that time qualified for an interview.
Okay. So when you went to the student government, did you ask Liz that you were qualified?
Yes, on the day I found these and she
Was you
said.
qualified last meeting,
Yes.
last Thursday?
Right. Yes.
Okay,
Serenity?
I just want to say that at the top, the numbers, right, those are the number of signatures. The other applicant got more signatures. So if that means that they have more of an approval rating with the students, and we should consider what the students want.
William?
I could see how that makes sense, but I don't think signature really translate to approval, because I feel like, I mean, some other Senate applicant could go out and get 125 signature that they were allotted, or someone could just get 110 and that could fluctuate. And I don't think that should be like a ground of an idea to say that they are more favorable than a student. And I mean, I want to say too, since last week Sarah was the only person who was eligible, confirmed by Liz, I feel like that would be fair for her to do that too, because I feel like for the past 5 senator, we are unopposed, right? Because we got our thing done, we didn't have to wait. And I don't have any person that I have to kind of like go against, so it makes sense, first come, first serve.
Right.
About number of signature, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share this, but as far as my understanding, the other applicant had been collecting signature way before I applied. So it tells a lot, because I became a Senate before her, and she is now not interviewed yet. Maybe you want to consider this.
And I would like to add, this is someone that's dedicated, that clearly has the drive to get things done. She has been here, she has been present, she has met the qualifications. And not only that, during her interview, I was very happy with it. She seemed like she has some really good ideas and a lot of things to bring to the student government. Is there Fidel, you had your hand up. Is there anybody else on staff? So Fidel and then William.
I think this would.
You know,
Okay, William?
yeah, like I understand there might be like a point of discussion about why we should or should not ratify Sarah. But I want to say that like let's look at her character, her accomplishment, and her platform, other than the question when voting, like should she be ratified? You know, like because like we're voting on her as a candidate, not in a problem if we should wait for another candidate or not.
Fidel?
If we can just move to the vote, because we only have 2 more minutes.
We will as soon as everyone's done with discussion. I want to make sure everyone's voice is heard before we vote. So if there are not any other points to make, someone will yield to.
Yeah, I just would like to let you guys know that I also would like to listen to the other candidates and be fair with them. And is there any time that we can extend it so they will be able to participate as well?
I would be happy to wait because I know as a student, we have a lot of things going on. Sometimes in this time as, one of the candidates is working, so why not give them this, the chat in case we have enough time to do it. So I would be happy to do it and wait for it. So,
William.
The real question is like, with the end, what we can do like a Zoom meeting before the term ends to kind of make the process easier.
Point of information, there's a motion on the table. We need to vote.
So I think I'm gonna go ahead and call this motion to a vote. Let's go ahead and start with the designated officer or designated senators. William?
Aye.
And then I would like to vote aye as well. Red?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, vote passes. You are now ratified. Yes.
No, that's correct.
Okay, you are now ratified, so starting our next meeting, you'll be able to. Everything, yes, Ava.
Before you adjourn this meeting, I sent out an email concerning the zeroing of the budget. And I would love for us to be able to make all the negatives in accounts equal to 0 or above prior to us ending the term, as this is the last Senate meeting. And I put forward even a proposed motion to make the adjustments to our budget that would be required to do so. The biggest part of that is just that in the case that, for example, I as your executive am not able to maintain the seat into the next term, I want to do as much ensuring that things are in order before the end of the term in case there is change up within the Senate, the executive, etc.
William?
The reason you didn't want to do the next meeting is because final and everything, and I feel like since the situation changed a little bit, like we could do it in Zoom, and since we don't, a lot of people doesn't really have final anymore. I mean, I think we could maybe do like a meeting to like the budget review.
Yes.
I want to make a motion to have a meeting this next Thursday.
What?
Seconded?
Yeah. Oh, what's happened where?
You're not bound by, until you adjourn, your meeting continues.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you need to say what
I-
location and time.
The
Just-
motion-
Can I make a point of clarification before we continue making that motion? So we'd be making the motion to go over this item that our president is talking about right now. I think that what she's saying is we could go over that now, because the meeting isn't adjourned yet, so we could discuss this right now and not have to have another meeting when we're already having warnings about meeting. So yes, William?
Bus leaves at 6:07.
Yes.
yeah, so
We gotta go.
Okay, well,
let's vote then.
Yeah, let's vote for a meeting on Thursday.
And it's gonna be online.
hang on. No, first of all, let's be recognized by the chair. Secondly, there was never a second made of the
There
motion.
were.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see you. So the motion was for which date and time? Did you clarify your full motion?
What date?
Next Thursday.
This
Or is
is
it?
the 19th. Yeah, the
The
19th or 6th. Okay. So if there's no discussion, we can go ahead and vote. William?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, vote passes, 2-4. All right, so we're going to adjourn this meeting at 6:02. All right.
There has not been a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of leaving. anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All right.
I
Call to a vote.
Aye.
All right, we are definitely gonna have to have some discussions next week, so, all right,
For real.
that was completely.
This thing was
Let
recorded,
me turn
right?
that camera on.
Right.